Feel free to check out my TeePublic after the video. After the success of King Kong vs. Godzilla, Toho began to experiment a little from 1964 to 1965. This would be a little series of films I would like to call the Turning Point trilogy for reasons I'll mention later, consisting of Mothra vs. Godzilla, Ghidorah the Three-Headed Monster, and Invasion of Astro-Monster. To me, these films present arguably the absolute best the classic Showa series has to offer. To start things off, as Toho was searching for another major monster to cross over with Godzilla, there came Mothra vs. Godzilla. Much like how King Kong vs. Godzilla was like a retelling of the original King Kong story with a Godzilla twist, Mothra vs. Godzilla does something similar, but this time, a typhoon washed a large Mothra egg to a beach, and an entrepreneur from Happy Enterprises wants to, you guessed it, make money off of it. I know this concept doesn't sound really that original up to this point, but borrowing ideas from the original Mothra to put into a Godzilla film does add to the conflict that is the very wrath of nature versus the embodiment of mankind's hubris. And of course Godzilla wakes up eventually because the movie demands it, which culminates into one of the most iconic battles in the Showa series, which makes this film yet another compliment to Mothra's popularity. And unlike King Kong vs. Godzilla, the human characters are definitely a strong suit here, especially with the Peanuts returning to play the Shobijin once again, and other actors who appear in numerous Toho films like Akira Takarada, Yuriko Hoshi, and Kenji Sahara all have excellent roles and performances. And the action scenes, both with monsters and military, are as good as ever, and I absolutely love how this film establishes continuity with the original Mothra, as in this film, she is dying, and her offspring are left to stick around. Moving on with this little mini-saga, there's Ghidorah the Three-Headed Monster, which features not only Mothra, but introduces Rodan too in the series. This is really the first time Toho brings in all their most famous monsters into one film, before another I'll get to later. And this is also the first time we're introduced to the first main villain of the series, King Ghidorah. On her way to Japan, Princess Sano, played by Akihiko Wakabayashi, becomes possessed by a mysterious entity in which it leads her to warn the world of a great threat coming to the Earth in the form of a meteorite, which in actuality is none other than a galaxy-destroying three-headed space dragon named King Ghidorah. Meanwhile, Detective Shindo, played by Yosuke Natsuki, is assigned to act as the princess's bodyguard as a secret organization plans to assassinate her. A very interesting human plot so far, but what about the monsters? Godzilla and Rodan spend a good time of the film fighting each other, only to be interrupted by one of Mothra's surviving offspring later on. This film would also truly mark the instance where Godzilla transitions from a menacing threat to a protector of the Earth, as the presence of King Ghidorah is enough to be in opposition to Godzilla, as well as Mothra and Rodan, in which the climax ends up being one of the most memorable fights in the series, as all three monsters cooperate with one another in very unique ways, especially Rodan, who's such a team player. This is also one of the more rare occasions where I prefer watching the English version of the film. The original Japanese version kinda has some problems in the editing, and it can be confusing as to when each event is taking place. Thankfully, the English version cleans that up and makes the narrative more linear. For me, Ghidorah the Three-Headed Monster isn't as good as its predecessor, but it's definitely a must-watch. And finally, Invasion of Astro-Monster. This time, an alien race known as the Exilians come to Earth for the cooperation to help get rid of a great threat named Monster Zero attacking their planet, who happens to be King Ghidorah. The Exilians ask for Godzilla and Rodan to get rid of him, promising a cure for cancer in return, but it turns out that it was all a ruse and King Ghidorah was under their control the whole time. Now they have Godzilla and Rodan under their control as well, and launch a full-scale assault on planet Earth. As for the solid cast of characters, we have the amazing Nick Adams as Glenn along with Akira Takarada as Fuji, and these two make a very awesome duo. We also have Akira Kubo as an inventor named Tetsuo, and perhaps Kumi Mizuno's most iconic role as Miss Namikawa, Glenn's love interest. I feel that Invasion of Astro-Monster is an improvement over Ghidorah the Three-Headed Monster, as it feels more contained with more memorable characters, great action sequences as usual, and knowing more about King Ghidorah. So there you have the Turning Point trilogy, and I must say, these films definitely showcase some of the absolute greatest moments in the Showa series. Great stories, great casting, great monster action, great special effects for the time. They're all outstanding in their own ways. I am in no way disappointed in any of them, as they all delivered what was necessary to be worthwhile. That's all I have for today's History of Godzilla. Thank you for watching. Feel free to like, share, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, and I'll see you guys later.